and welcome to episode 4 of First Day Biblical Discussion. Yeah. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, I'm bringing that back. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I mean, did it ever leave? Did it ever leave? Um, this week has been quite a week for the videos on the channel. Um, we've been getting a lot of comments, a lot of views, a lot of discussion. Um, and some in bad faith, but I actually really believe that a lot of the discussion is happening in good faith, pun intended both ways. And it is unfortunately a lot of the talking points in the red pill or the manosphere has been conflated with uh some of the pickup artist stuff. Not that the pickup starter stuff is bad inherently, um, but when it is removed from faith, it can become debauched or degenerate. And as personally a advocate of polygamy, I do believe that men can have multiple wives, but I shouldn't don't believe they should be just going out there and banging broads. Fair enough. Fair enough. But that seems to be one of the pushbacks against the red pill or the manosphere and all that stuff. However, it's the truth parts that are important. And then you can obviously, if you are, well, get that going. I don't know. We're trying to make, I want to make sure that sounds good and everything. Um, you can make sure that you're on the right path, right? If you have something to measure it by, okay? And so these people don't. They don't have. They are on the Broadway. They are Broadway. No, not Broadway, but like the Broadway. We're on the narrow path. They're in this broad, whatever the you want, okay, path, and that's not good. That is thelema. That is do what thou wilt. That is not at all biblical. The Bible is about doing God's will and following God's word. And Jesus is speaking his Father's words, not his own. This is all important because if the through line isn't, is the sound good on this? Just bring it up to you and just let me know. Um, if it isn't important, then you can redefine the entire faith to mean whatever you want, and even if it fails, which it shouldn't if you do it right. God's way isn't a failing way if you do it right. It is a blessing. You will bless with life. You will be blessed with good things. If you're doing it right and you're producing failures, then the tree that you are getting this from is bad fruit. But there's no ability to self critique, self assess, and there's very little self-awareness. There's a lot of insisting on oneself. There's a lot of mental gymnastics. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance. That is in the world today and inside the church. So this week in the first day biblical discussion, I've got here my wife, and we're going to be talking about single Christian women. We're going to be giving dating, and I'm putting that in quotation marks, dating advice. And I believe that, does it sound good? Yeah, you said that? Yeah, okay. Sound is good. She gave me the thumbs up. I love her. I love you so much. We're a fucking team here. And the last part was a Q&A for anybody that's in the chat if you want to ask any questions. I know the last couple weeks we've got some chatters there, but they're mostly saying hi, and I appreciate anyone saying hi. If you just want to say hi, like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching this in the chat room, or you're watching this in the posted version, which I will post this, just give it a like, give it a subscribe, give it a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Push back on what I'm saying if you need to push back, and agree if you agree. I'm willing, unlike many people, to be wrong. Okay, and in many ways, it would be easier for me to be wrong in many cases. For like example, free grace. Free grace. If it was free and there was no stipulation to love God and keep his commandments, or and things like it doesn't matter what you did, it was just free, and the whole theology, okay, then we are going to have significant problems and divergence in opinions. Uh, that's that's what it is. Okay, that would be easy for me to just believe things were free for me and I just could act however I want. There was no way to conduct myself, as in First John 2. Um, he who knows him keeps the commandments. If they don't, they are a liar, and the truth is not in them. We know that the truth that they know him if they keep the way that Jesus Christ kept, which is walking sinlessly in the law. He kept every one of them because the law defines sin. Um, so you know, if I could just pick what was easy, I would pick that. But I have to go with what's true, and that means if you could factually, verifiably prove to me that I'm wrong in X, Y, Z, then I'm willing to change my mind. And I think that a lot of Christians aren't that way. But I think that some are coming to that conclusion now. When it comes to single women in the church, here's a stat for you. By 2030, that's 6 years from now, half of all women will be 30, single, and childless. 30, single, and childless. The number of the women who are having children now, mothers, the overwhelming majority are single mothers. So, in the life of like 90% of the population of women, men will have no specific role in any woman's life. That's scary. And women are starting to see it. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance and a lot of pushback because you don't want to be held accountable for the things that you're doing to get you the results that you are getting. Okay? And it's a little bit easier for men who don't have a lot of sugarcoating from society on their life, where they have to just figure out what works and what doesn't, while women have a very uh submissive role where they're waiting for a man to come and get them. Is that necessarily how it has to be? We'll talk about that more in a moment. But culture, as it is, decides that men have to be the person that initiates the contact. It can never be a woman. There is no polygamy, meaning that there's enforced monogamy, that the men that are the most attracted to women and the most likely to be honorable and engage in marriage are forced to only have one woman. That's a very small portion of men, as is the men who want to get married. And if we want to shrink it down to a smaller portion because we want to be specific, the men that want to get married and then will be faithful and do the things that are correct in a marriage, it's an even smaller amount. Those men can only have one woman according to what the church says today. We'll discuss that more in a moment. Finally, what are women doing to attract a man in their life other than being a woman? That is going to be also a large portion of discussion, because there is no real discuss. It's always toward like, what? Why has a man approached me? Why hasn't that man come into my life? Or the opposite. I'm just waiting for him. When the right man comes, God's going to plop him in my lap, and I will know. I'll be ready, even though they're doing nothing to prepare for it. What does a man want? What are you, that type of woman? Do you have that type of disposition? Are you fit, submissive? Are you trying to be in his life? Are you trying to see the things that he likes and absorb that and be like, okay, I'm excited about the things that he likes? Okay. When we talk about marriage, okay, before we go in all of this, before we go all into these subjects that we just kind of went through, kind of like a skeleton bullet list, I want to first dictate this. Okay. Marriage has specific roles for each sex. That is for the man and the woman. Okay. The man being the husband and the woman being the wife. The man has authority and headship. Okay. It says, women submit to your husband. It says the men are the head of the woman as Jesus Christ is the head of the church. It says respect your husbands. Well, conversely, it says women love your husbands. Yeah, women love your husbands. And overall, the law, if I were to summarize it quickly, also conveys a level that is the law, that is the Torah, that is the first five books of the Bible, that is the precepts of God, that is God's law and word, also known as the light, the truth, and the way, just like the names that are held by our Messiah, Jesus Christ, who is God. Um, I always have to say that because I feel like a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about. And if this is your first time, it's okay. Say hi, by the way. Thank you for everybody that's joining us. I lost myself. Where did I leave off before? Oh, the precepts of the law would dictate that the man has authority. Okay, Paul says in I was just talking about in oh man, how a man has authority over a woman. I have the I forget the particular letter. I can't name it at this particular moment. But regardless, going back to the law, it allows a husband to nullify or completely abolish any covenant made not in his sight or before he was with a woman, meaning he has authority over her person. He has final say of her person. Okay, it says that we belong to each other, but it also says it is an anathema if a woman is leading a man. It's a curse. Anytime a woman is leading in the Bible, it is a pagan Jezebel spirit woman. People will bring up Deborah. Deborah was not a leader; she was a prophetess, and she taught the law under, sung about the law under, and taught. I guess people ask about the law under a tree. She was sent to give Barak the authority of the army to lead, and Brock's like, "You come with me, okay?" But he's supposed to be the leader. It's not supposed to be Deborah. Deborah was like, "Oh, Deborah, you go lead the thousands of the host of me." Okay, he's like, it's supposed to be a man. You go tell that man to do it. They also say Esther was a leader. Esther was the queen. Esther was the wife of the king. She would have no say if she was not married to him. What she did was write letters to the king with the help of another gentleman whose name is going to elude me at the moment, just like the name of that Paul talking about the headship of a woman. Anyway, it's there if you're willing to watch that. So, but that's all needs to be prefaced this by that, because if we're going to find a man of that stock, standard, and value, we first have to identify what standard he follows and what he does in order to be able to identify him, right? Is that fair? Right? I just want to make sure that's up to date. Okay. Is that okay? Okay. Uh, before we go into the many things that we went into, the problems of the church and single woman, we identified, kind of identifying what a man needs to be, kind of identifying um the hierarchy and the roles. Before we actually discuss that, do you have anything that you want to add before we move on?
Um, no, I don't think you've already kind of covered it with the points that we're going to be hitting later in this discussion. Um,
You could help me with that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you already kind of hit the points of what we're going to be talking about
Diaphragm.
and what we're going to be discussing later on. But it's, like you were saying, it's very sad to see the Christian community, the women in the Christian community, um, um, basically listening, idolizing their feelings and listening to the world and what their standards are and what they tell them, how to believe and how to think, instead of reading the Bible and actually retaining what the Bible is saying, how the roles are supposed to be playing in a marriage, in a relationship.
Okay. Yes, I agree. I agree that those things need to be highlighted and are completely missing from the modern church. It's not spoke about in the modern church for the very reason that the modern church is majority women, and therefore the majority of the cash flow in the church is going to be majority from women, and that will inevitably, with not even counting the plots and schemes of the adversary, going to be a feminizing effect on the doctrines of the church, and ergo, of course, produce effeminate men, right?
Mhm.
So, this is partially going to Q&A. This is partially going into the single women and the dating, because this was a comment on our previous video about single Christian women, young single Christian women not marrying, as well
Mhm.
as the video that just stopped today. If you want to check it out right after this video, I would most certainly um, advise it, which is talking about single Christian women, the biggest threat in the church right now.
Mhm.
Um, we have to see that there is a reason why there are so many women that are single or single mothers. There's not a lot of wives, right? If we go just by the numbers with just the black community alone, for instance, 70 to 80% are single mothers. And then 50% of all women are about to be um, 30 single and childless. So half of women are going to be at the wall with no children, no man. And the other half of women who are mothers, okay, of whatever varying age, 80% of them are going to be single mothers. That leaves a very small amount of women here that are going to be eligible, uh, really prime eligible wives. The women that are 30, single, and childless, they're still eligible. There are very many women that age gracefully that are going to be good women. But the problem is they've gotten to an age where they have their own habits, they have their own way, and it's going to be hard to train them or coach them as a man. But that is something that a woman can change and embrace in their life, is to become more coachable and can be trained. Um, that once again, going back to the reframing that we began in the beginning, you want to be going into a man's life, you want to be going into a man's life, you don't want to bring him into your life as in, okay, now he's coming to my world, he's going to be a little character in my world. No, you're the wife, you're the supporter, you are going to make his life more full, you are going to help him, and then he will provide for you, because it's the authority of the father and his headship over the girl to provide and protect her, going to now her husband, her new head and authority, and who will now provide for her. But now it's something more magical, something more intimate, something more supernatural. Okay, and it's something that we don't discuss a lot in the in churches today, because once again the doctrine is become effeminate, because we can't discuss those things, um, and have been slowly browbeaten by society or social norms that have insisted on, oh, we progressed, or society is all about just equality and, masculine and feminine being equal. um, they are complementary, they but there is something that has to be said specifically, which is enumerated in the Bible, that the man is the leader, the man has the role of the head, the man is the new father, if you will. Okay, And that's another thing that we should go into for a moment. Um, and it's also what we've been talking about in this video. There's so many strings connecting to so many other strings.
Mm.
Um, in fact, I'll have it like this. One of the commenters on the video, one of my videos recently, discussing how she was in a post college, red flags ready, post college single women's Christian group, and they all want to get married. 20 about 27 of them. 3 or 4 of them get the same 3 or 4 she was complaining, or more like venting, are the same 3 that keep getting asked out, keep getting approached. This is because most likely they are the most fit and the most good looking. Okay, they're probably just the most good looking. For the rest of them, they're probably average, and the average woman is obese. Um, uh, we can break it down into different categories, but overall, the average woman is obese in terms of the index, and they a lot of people will brag that they're fit, but they're not. They're not. I like curvaceous women. I will even be with a woman that is voluptuous and past voluptuous. Okay, that's not the general view of men. Okay, most men just want a fit, good-looking woman. So I think that the distribution of 3 or 4 women keep getting asked and the rest are just waiting and waiting is a good representation, a good microcosm, if you will, of the overall dating situation that's in the church today. Hey everybody, give a like and give a like, say hi in the comments, see what's going on. Um, but here are some things that we had touched on earlier that we will discuss a little bit more. Uh, what are women doing to be a wife? Are they, if this representation of most of them are waiting, a couple of them are being asked out, all of them still stay single, what can we extrapolate from this? Okay, so let's take a step back. The 4 or 3 women keep getting asked out, but they don't stay or end up with those men. What does that say? Those men are not up to scruff. So that confirms that those men are probably effeminate, right? Those men are not manly enough, right? It's not because women are not turning down men because they're manly. If they are, then refer back to look at the Bible and what does my Bible say about what men should be. Okay, okay, this is a lot of women are rejecting, or I have seen women, Christian women, reject men because they have been conservative in some way. You know what I mean? Or too conservative, or you know what I mean? They were pro life, but the man was like hard, um, like abolition of abortion, make it illegal and punishable by law. Oh, okay, well, I'm pro life, but in just in case, some abortions, but you're against abortions and making it illegal. You're you're extremist. That is the position of the Bible, that if you murder someone, that's prohibited, and you will be punished because you murdered someone. Okay, let's be consistent with our. But that was something that someone said. I saw another Christian woman um break things off with a man because he like Trump. He wasn't even like a full Trump supporter. And by I mean that man, I mean me. That was me. Him is me. I was that guy. Okay. And I wasn't even like a full Trump supporter at the time. I was just like, I think Trump has some good ideas, and he hasn't been doing anything wrong at the time. And I still think that he's a good candidate. You know what I mean? I think there's things I now from him being out in the political sphere that I disagree with him with. But if I was going to pick between him and anyone else, I would pick Trump for the most part. That all being said, as an aside, there has been always there's always going to be a reason to say no or whatever, but there obviously isn't enough reasons to say yes in the caliber of men that these women are being approached by. Ergo, they are in some way effeminate, okay? Because women will be attracted to a masculine man, you know what I mean? A one who's in good shape, stable, consistent, and intelligent, you know what I mean? Competent, you know what I mean? That these are reasonable traits to have as a man, and most men can and have them, and do have some to some degree, and only have to um, develop them more and present them better. But that I don't think that is the problem so much as that they are effeminate, like feminine. Men are feminine. They don't hold themselves in a male way, and then that does not give any credence to their authority, and women just disrespect that. They don't find that attractive, and they end up rejecting that, even first in subtle ways, then in overt ways, then right to their face. um Before moving on to my next point, did you want to say anything about that? Ooh.
um, Another thing we can add.
Just your thoughts. You don't have to necessarily add. You can just agree or.
I have noticed that a lot of women don't really internally try hard enough to ask themselves, okay, I've done this, this, and this, and that. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I need to change something about myself instead of blaming the men. Oh, it's the men. It's the men.
Oh yes.
And that's what a lot of women are doing. They, instead of taking accountability of asking themselves, okay, the men are the key holders to relationships. I'm not getting any men who are willing to want to marry me. What am I doing wrong?
Right. Right. So yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. In addition to the hold on, let me just turn this back this way. It's a little bit difficult, guys. I hope I'm not fucking with the sound too much on the microphones. Um I'm like sticking my neck out. There you go. In addition to the caliber of man being significantly degraded in the available pool of single men in the Christian church, there's also the factor, as she mentioned and we touched on earlier, is women are not seriously considering what they are doing personally as an individual to attract a male suitor and be a wife. In fact, they see it as a sort of uh, inevitable outcome or innate attribute that they have. Well, I'm a woman. Of course, I'm going to be a wife. Yes, by definition, if you are married to a man, you are a wife, as in the role of wife. But a wife, as expounded upon in Proverbs 31 or throughout scripture defining what a good and honest and loyal woman does, first in the law and then by example in the women who are in the word. Additionally, it's worth noting that this is not something that I'm making up or coming up with new. This is on and on throughout all, not just Catholic, not just Protestant or many Protestant factions or denominations, but also in church fathers. What I'm presenting as what a biblical woman is something that's in scripture. Okay, this isn't something that is subjective. She can't be a good biblical woman can't be an adulterer. A good biblical woman can't be a gossiper. A good biblical woman can't be a woman that openly um openly, how would it, conflicts and contradicts with her husband in public in front of other people. That would not be a biblical woman. That would be a rebellious woman, and that would be a bad look for the man. And we've kind of taken that look, that thing of, oh, what, that's a bad look for a man. That's misogyny. That's the implicit or implied rather social norms that have been pushed and browbeaten the church that I have previously mentioned. It's this, oh, a man's got to lead and I've got to represent him right. I can't just do whatever I want. I mean, I'm just free to make my own mistakes, right? No, your fucking mistakes affect other people, especially if you are now in a covenant relationship with someone. People take this so it's people take it so like unserious. They take the vows that say for richer or poor, for good or for bad, for richer or poor, for sick health or sickness, you know, till death do you part. They don't fucking take those vows seriously. And it says don't take vows. These, but those I agree with the vows that they're taking because they're implicit to the what it is to be married in the law, aka the Torah in the Bible. It is implicit to these things, but they enumerated them out in some the 15th century or something like that. And I don't just disagree with the concept conceptually. I just don't understand the idea of taking vows when Jesus says don't take like vows and don't, you know what I mean? Because like that's something that seriously is going to be held. Like that's something held on you. There's no need to make a vow. Just do it. Okay. Um, you make a vow and you don't do it, that's really going to be held against you. Okay. People making these vows and they are like, instead of the implicit, like I need to implicitly do this, and I'm going to say I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make a promise to God. You know, there's a there's a judge who made that mistake. Said he was going to make he made a vow about sacrificing the first thing that came out of his house, or sacrificing it or dedicating it to God. And he, you know, you come home, you imagine, especially if you live on a farm, if I may take this aside. Oh, you think maybe your most beloved pet goat that you always hug and hold and go to sleep with, that you raised from a lamb. There's lambs out here. They're so cute. You know what I mean? You get attached to one of those bad boys and you take care of it. There's no TV, there's no video games, there's no extra shit out here. You're out there, you got your little animals. You got your little things that you got to do. Okay, you got responsibilities. And this little lamb, you've been around. Oh, but you know, if that was the first thing that comes out of here, you know, my dog or maybe my bull. Maybe I have a pet bull. He's a judge. Maybe he's a big warrior dude. Maybe he has a pet bull that he's been raising. Chicken, something, whatever, dove, blah. But the first thing that came out was his daughter. And but his daughter knew, as a good biblical woman, that a man or anyone, any Israelite that makes a Israelite being a believer in Yeshua and Yah, his father, who are one. Um, Anybody who makes a vow to God has to keep it. It is serious. It must be done. Obviously, some people argue that she was literally sacrificed, as opposed to, because he says sacrificed or dedicated to God. I think that she became a forever virgin in the temple. Um, there's a part in the story where she says she went into the mountains or the forest and she lamented her virginity for months. Like, not your life, not that you're gonna die, not that you'll never see another sunset and you never see the smile on the face of your father or your friends, and you'll never get married or have children. Her virginity, because specifically she'll never have children. Not that I'll never do any of those things because I'll be dead. And then there was also a reference to the women coming up and celebrating something, you know, together. And some people I like to say on the, because he was never reprimanded for sacrificing his daughter. He would be reprimanded for human sacrifice. God reprimands a person. No, he lived out his life. He died fine. No, that's not how that works. God is just. Um, you can try to wrestle with oh well, he did this because this is what I think, and yeah, there was um tons of pagan interplay between the Israelites and the judge, and he was obviously, or God never punishes that deed, which he would, because that's human sacrifice. He would at least reprimand it on the scripture. He would be like, this is an abomination. He did this. It's just presented as it is what it is, and he did his vow. Do I need a description of the killing? No. I need that's what was done. He did his vow, not that he killed her. Anyway, that's a long tangent for talking about vows, but no one takes them serious, and because no one takes them serious, they don't think about what is necessary, as you were saying, to be in a relationship in regards to a man and a woman who want to keep a permanent marriage in covenant with God.
Mm.
Um, what do people what are some things that you think that men, or you have learned rather in your
Hmm.
relationship with me, that men want in a relationship?
Well, what I have learned is that coming from a single mother home and seeing how, and also learning from, other podcasters, red pill podcasters, and them talking about the dating sphere and what men want in a woman, is that they don't want a woman who is always going to be combative,
Mm,
argumentative. A lot of these women always want to be right. They don't. They ask questions in bad faith because they just want to be right and want to shame you.
yep.
Um, or they have bad intentions because they just have some type of grudge or anger towards a specific thing you said, or just having an emotional feeling of just whatever, because women can just be emotional.
And completely illogical and inconsistent with like reasoning.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And especially if people allow them to, they can just go down a complete spiral and not have any control of themselves.
Yeah, if I may, I really think that you're right. Like what they people allow them to. I think that society allows them to be so emotional
Hmm.
in some type of witchy, embracing emotional way,
Yeah.
uh, as if that spirit of emotion is something that is like always good, as opposed to wild and undisciplined. You know what I mean? And has to be viewed through logic and reason. Like, you know what I mean? People get anxious when they see cheese.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And no one would be like, that's wrong. They'll be like, oh, he has a disorder. No, just fucking what? You get anxious when you see cheese. Why?
Hmm.
Oh, because I think of this one thing this one time. Can you stop thinking about that? Like we have over analyzed and overdeveloped systems of psychology and sociology, in my opinion. But in cases like this, like I know that it's kind of like a joke, but women see relationships in the same way. They'll be like, "Oh, I get anxious when I think about commitment in relationships because this one time when I was with a man, he told me that he loved me, and the next day he left my ice cream out of the refrigerator." And I'm like, "Oh, you told me you were in an abusive relationship. Like there was poison in it?" No, he just left it out and he didn't apologize.
And he knew how much I love that ice cream and how I was looking forward to
And he was a narcissist for abusing me like that. Like that's what it is. That's what it is almost all the time. Listen, we like I've presented many times in the past on this channel. I'm a polygamist. This is my wife, and we're looking for a second wife. And when we talk to other women, it can be as trivial as that, and they will literally present that as abuse, something as ridiculous as abuse, and they'll never like present any of the things that they've done in their relationship as leading or contributing to the end of their previous relationships. Um, and that already that's a red flag for you gentlemen that are watching. But we're trying to give more like kind of advice for women. What do women need to? What was that first thing that you said? Women need to what?
Um, Women need to stop being argumentative and combative.
Mm.
Um, but it's all trickled down to women are not listening. Women don't want to listen. They're just so quick to feel, and they fester on that feeling. And, you know, as a Christian woman, if you are idolizing your feelings
Oh yeah.
over what someone is telling you, especially a man, if you're in a courting period and you're dating and you're trying to get to know a man and he's telling you what his standards are and what he doesn't like his woman to wear, or what kind of people he likes her to hang out with, a lot of women will just shut down and start feeling and start festering on that feeling, and then they start to begin to idolize that feeling, and then they start, saying things that don't make any sense because they're so emotional. And um it's very terrible because a lot of women were told, have always been told, always trust your feelings. Like, if you don't have anyone else in this world, you always have your feelings. If you have that gut feeling, always trust it. Always go with your gut feeling. And um, it's very snake talk.
Ooh, very snake talk.
It's very like giving Eve in the garden with the serpent, because it's
Snake vibes.
because it's telling women to listen to their hearts, when in the Bible it tells us our hearts are deceitful above all things, and to never trust it,
Truly,
and to always have discernment of what you're doing, what you're saying, how you're thinking.
truly.
And a lot of women, you can tell, are not spiritually balanced because they have been told a lie that trusting their feelings or trusting the way that they've been walking in this world is the correct way to do things and the correct way to conduct themselves as women, when it isn't. And they just can read it in the Bible and see for themselves. But as soon as you start bringing up Bible verses and, correcting them on how they are
Phew.
doing things and saying things, that's when that Jezebel spirit starts coming out, and they're just, wants to be argumentative,
You know it.
combative, always want to be right, don't want to listen, um, are very aggressive, very masculine, um, you know, and it's not the way a Proverbs 31 woman should conduct herself. And that's how a lot of women want to put in their bios of their Instagrams and Facebooks, or I'm a Proverbs 31 woman. But that's usually a red flag. Like, okay, if you are truly a Proverbs 31 woman, then you should walk, talk, and act and spiritually walk like
Mm.
a Proverbs 31 woman. And it's very sad to see that the church also give into women's feelings and emotions, and not really um really correct women. And I think a lot of women um need to
You have
start
to put it up
getting
here. Or sorry, I'm trying to get the signal.
correction, because a lot of these women are not getting the correction that they need to conduct their lives in the righteous way.
On that side of the room, you get signal for some reason, but I put it in front of me and it stops working.
It's a very weird signal. I don't understand why it does that.
Also, everybody around, just give likes, comment, subscribe, give it a like. You got a couple people here watching. What's up?
Hmm. Um, but is there anything that you wanted to add
Oh no,
to what I was
I
saying?
think you were just saying basically what I was saying. And that is that. there's a lot of dodging of accountability. There's a lot of moving of the what would you say, the goalpost of what you're supposed to be doing in a Christian marriage, and as a Christian woman to become a wife.
Mm.
There was another commenter that asked, like, seriously, like, what do I would do as a young woman, who she's not 25 yet, even, how do I
Mm.
attract that man? How do I get that husband? Um,
Mm.
it's all down to becoming fit. So you want to be in shape. You want to go and develop that
Different.
discipline and routine of being in shape, of going to the gym or being active,
Mm.
that you can carry forward for the rest of your life. Okay,
Mm.
that's something that you need to do, and that is, and you want to also find a man that is like that. And if you find a man like that, he will train you in his ways. There's a lot, men have all these, there, men go into all these different sports, and they would love for their wife to be not like a little jerk that doesn't. I don't want to do that. That's for this. I don't know. Be like, yeah, I'll go. Just me and you, babe. Yeah, we'll. I'll go drive in your car with you, or I'll go play basketball in the front yard with you, or I'll um. Yeah, I can't. I said that, and my knees hurt. My knees hurt when I said basketball. But that's for some people. They want to go play some
Or
basketball with their
martial
wife.
arts.
You know what I mean? Or martial arts. You know what I mean? Like we do sometimes, and lifting weights like we do. Like
Yeah.
the men would love to have a lifting partner. Instead, when they have a woman that goes to the gym with them, they do their own thing, and then the man does their own thing. Like why? It's like why?
Mm.
I don't know. But then they end up just spending time apart in a place where there's a lot of single people that are, looking for other single people. I mean, that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's very strange. Um, that was that's one thing, right?
Mm. Um, fit, friendly.
Friendly,
Gotta be friendly. You
gotta be
can't.
friendly, very much. Yeah, people are complaining about just smiling
Yeah,
at
women.
people.
Oh gosh, yeah, women especially. They. Why do I have to smile? Why do I have to be told to smile? Oh well,
Mm,
because maybe you don't smile enough.
maybe you don't smile. Maybe
Maybe you
you
just
got
have a resting.
bitch face.
Yeah.
Maybe you have RBF. That's fine, dude, and that could be hot too. That could be attractive. But like then, when a man approaches you and they do try to shoot their shot, you actually have to be friendly. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Even if you're not smiling all the time, or you forget and you just have RBF, like you have to be friendly. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Submissive, obviously, as we were talking about before in the biblical role, you want to, like, it's you going into his reality. It's you going into his world, his life. He's leader, he's mentor, he's teacher. He's the one leading you into his life, not you going into, not him going into your life,
Mm.
and becoming a part of your girl shit and stuff like that. That's not what your friends that are women are not even really your friends. You know what I'm saying? A lot of women get talked out of relationships, by their friends, and and not even just by their friends, but by themselves. In fact, I'm going to be doing a video on this very topic in the near future, so expect that one to come out soon. I do have a couple in the chamber that will be coming out that are a little bit older, but nonetheless on this very subject.
Mm.
um Now, I mean, there's there's the fit, friendly, submissive, cute, loud, all those. But most of all, what do you think is the most important? The most important.
The most important, I would say, is actually putting God first and following God's word and what His roles have been set for women. Because a lot of women
Mm,
will just read because will read Proverbs because it's very poetic, or First Corinthians, because it's very poetic and it sounds nice, but they don't really retain
right.
what that role actually is. Like, you have to become a wife first. You have to have that wife mentality first before you can actually be pursued to become a wife. And a lot of women want to skip the steps and just jump right to it and just be wives and mothers, and they live happily ever after without having to put in the work, because a lot of women have been taught, unfortunately, to be really lazy. A lot of women just don't want to put in the actual effort and the actual hard time and discipline to make a relationship work, because they've been taught, like, oh, you can have a boyfriend, and if it doesn't work, it's okay, you can just jump on to the next one, which is very unbiblical. it are always told to push and seek towards marriage.
Right.
There's nothing about in the Bible that's talking about boyfriends or girlfriends. It's always talking about husbands and wives. And that's what a lot of Christian women get really mistaken, and they kind of pursue marriage like that, like it's a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, because of how Babylon has brainwashed them to think, oh, okay, well, if these Babylonians are sitting here being in, like, only 6 months to a year relationship, and they're calling themselves boyfriend and girlfriends to test out relationships and test the water to see if this guy or this girl is actually for them, then I can do it too. And
Yes.
that's not the way about it.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah. What do you go finish?
oh, sorry, and that's not the way to go about it. It's very unbiblical, and a lot of women have been programmed to be in that type of mindset. Like, okay, this is only temporarily. I'm just only doing this to
Right.
see how and feel how I feel about
This is the
this.
test drive.
Yeah, this is the test drive. Instead of, they talk to their grandmas and grandpas who have been married for 50 on years, and they ask them, what do you do, how do you stay married, like, how did you guys meet? But then, you know they don't really listen or actually take that advice from their grandparents, or the person they actually seek, who's been married for a long period of time, and listen to them, because you can't be lazy. You can't be lazy. You have to make it work. Those relationships have last because they put in the work to make them
Right. That's
last.
true. That's true.
They weren't lazy about it. They didn't think about themselves. They were selfless instead of selfish. And a lot of women, Christian women, unfortunately, are being selfish. They
Yeah.
just want to do things on their own time, like,
Yeah. They want to do it on their own time. Yeah. No.
yeah.
But I. Okay. Yeah. I think that it's like this. These two things, and I think you hit two of them.
Hmm.
I think you hit two of them. So we'll simplify them down into like two of the most important. It's knowing the real standard that is in the Bible, which is male authority, men providing for women, women going into the men's world, and they're having a union of of head and body, one besar echad, that's like one flesh, or like a united front. It's one. It's united. It's one body, one, and it has one head, the man, and the man's leading. The head leads the body. Okay, some people, oh, well, the women are the neck. Okay, cut the head off. Now let neck lead the body. That cannot happen. So the whole point is the man is the head of the woman, like Jesus is the head of Jesus Christ is the head of the body. And so, can the church exist without Christ? No, Christ is at its head. We must follow him. Same
Mm.
thing goes for the husband, because the husband is like Christ, as Christ is the head of the body of Christ, the church. Men are the head of the woman. Excuse me. And ergo, there has to be a rejection, part two, of whatever the social norm of, oh, you know, uh, men are misogynists, that they try to lead this, that, the other thing. And they have this is in the same very point, because it's two sides of this very same coin. They have to really acknowledge the value of women. I mean, of men. Women have to really acknowledge the value of men. They have to admit that they need men. If by 2030, uh, half of all women are going to be 30 single and childless, and the rest of them is 80%, 60%, 70% single mothers, then the majority of women do not think they need men. And they may say they want a man, but it's just like saying you want a dog when you're like 4. You have no way to feed or take care of that dog unless you are raised on maybe a homestead with a lot of extra food or something like that. And even then, you'd probably want to give that child some other responsibilities first before giving them a dog of their own. I digress. That point is that the same side of the coin that says we have to change our thinking about men being misogynist and this, that, the other thing, and controlling, we also, on the same coin, have to say, oh, I need a man. Men are important to my life and my future. And we have to completely reframe all this. And if we do that, then we'll start asking the questions, what do men want? And get to the things that we were saying. Men want a woman that knows how to, what was it again? Dang.
Be feminine.
No, the very first thing you said.
Not
Not be argumentative.
Yeah.
Not be argumentative. Like, why would they not be argumentative if they thought that they were the prize? It's like, why are you arguing with the prize? Just be happy you have me. And as like ridiculous as that sounds, that's literally the mentality of a lot of these women. I'm the prize. Like, why are you even arguing with me? Like, you don't even need to argue with me. Just be happy I'm here. You know what I
I'm the
mean?
rib that you're looking for.
What?
I'm your missing rib.
I'm the rib that you're looking for. You know what I mean? Like, right. Wow. I haven't heard that one. Is that one?
I can't. Yeah.
I'm your missing rib. Like, it's like, what? Like, you're making my hair fall out and feel crazy. You're making my insides feel like I should rip my ribs out. That's not how what a biblical woman is. That's not how that goes. And yet we have this whole culture of happy wife, happy life. You know what I mean? Nothing about what a man submitting to a woman, because all of those have been erased because they're misogyny. They couldn't be true. Men didn't want that for thousands of years because it couldn't be true. Okay, and sure, we can challenge some of these things. Some cultures would say, "Oh, you're not allowed to do martial arts with your wife, or play basketball, or lift weights. You have to do that separate." I mean, I think that's ridiculous too. But I think it's ridiculous that women don't. And any case, like, there's so many times where I see women where women do not want to take any interest in whatever the guy's into, even if it's trivial, ridiculous, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's a game or what. Just take interest in what the man take interest. These women don't do it. They don't do it. It's like they want the man to be interested in the Gossip Girl or the OC. You know what I mean? These are my personal experiences. Or, Orange is the New Black. They want to talk about Game of Thrones, and, oh, look, there's a new Spartacus show coming out. You know what I mean? Like, all right. Well, I really like, oh, shh, it's coming on. It's like that's what it is for guys. And like when the guy is like, oh, I like this, oh, that's what guys like, this is so dumb, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? And there was a couple of times that you were like that at the beginning, and then you're like, you know what, Arthur, you're always fucking right. Like what was it Braveheart, or was it Last of the Mohicans that made you say that? It was like one of those movies.
I think it was Last Mohicans because I liked Braveheart right away. I was like, oh, this seems like a movie I'm going to like. I think Last Mohicans. I was like, what is this? I don't think I'm gonna like this. And you're like, just watch it, just watch it, just watch it. So, but you're right. There was a time where you would want me to be interested in something, and I was like,
Right. And I understand, you know what I mean? Like, not everything's for everybody, but that you realize that it made me happy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I get to spend time with you and do the thing that I like to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like not just sex that we share, you know what I mean? Which is, well, oh, I had a couple good times with this person and we have sex. And I'm like, oh yeah, so what do you guys do together? Like, what are the things that you guys do together? Shopping? Oh, okay, all right. And like, what else? Like eating? Okay, all right, all right. And what else? Like working? Sometimes people work together, and but like the thing that you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that could be good too. Like you could be bonded over the things that you share in your life. That's the starting point. Now I start getting out of my comfort zone and doing the things that you do, and you do the things that I want to do. And oh, you used to do this before, you can't do that no more. Or oh, I never done that. That sounds like something I want to try. Or you know what I mean? You start setting boundaries. There's a relationship, and there's already boundaries implied, but then you have the personal boundaries of the male head that is with that relationship. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna tell other men what to do with their wives. That's ridiculous. Um, So, most importantly, is having an accurate version, accurate, not accurate version, because this is the same version, an accurate mental portrait of what a biblical woman and a biblical wife is supposed to be like, right? That's one.
Yeah.
And then two, change your life and your mind and your body to be like that woman. A Proverbs 31 woman holds up her arm and you can see the strength, okay? You can see the strength in her physical body because that bitch is working and she's carrying shit and she's not idle, okay? As discussed in like First Timothy, where it says that these women should not be idle; they should be married. These young widows, don't put them on the registry. No widow on there until 60. Okay, because I tell you that they should get married if they
Mhm.
are a young widow. Okay, because of all these things. They're going to be doing this, they're going to be doing that, we're going to be doing this, and that's what we see as a problem in society. In fact, bring that up, Taylor. Bring that up. I think that's First Timothy 5 possibly, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have that up in a second. Just widows list. Just like widows list, Bible Hub. While that is being brought up, we will also highlight that the fit is just overall everyone just want you want to be fit. You don't have to be skinny. Skinny is one thing. Some men like that. I think that might be not a legitimate. Yeah, it is First Timothy 5. Can you hit the Berean Study Bible? Um, being fit, fit women are the most likely to be married, right? Okay, if you get cancer, your chances of surviving go up, and is directly correlative to the percentage of and mass of muscle on your body. Okay. Um, while we're getting there, we're getting there in a second. Um, submissive, as I said, we've applied that many times through scripture, and is up for you to do more, even more in-depth search. I'm just giving you the bullet points here. You get to that when you can. Um, we know that submissiveness is supposed to be with woman to man, not man to woman, because as well as we also previously said that it would be cursed if it was a woman leading a man. But specifically, a widow should. This is First Timothy 5, verse 9. A widow should be enrolled if she is at least 60 years old, the wife of one man, verse 10, and well known for good deeds such as bringing up children, entertaining strangers, washing the feet of saints, imparting relief to the afflicted, and devoting herself to every good work. Okay, just stopping there. Does that sound like Christian women washing the feet of the saints, imparting relief to the afflicted, entertaining strangers, well known for good deeds such as bringing up children? Half are single women in 2030, 6 years from now, and the other half is mostly single mothers. Is that a wife bringing up children, or is that a widow bringing up an orphan? Oh, just by the way, a widow is a woman without a husband, and an orphan is a child without a dad in Hebrew. Oh man, that's like something you should definitely look up if you don't know that. Man, that's something I need to talk about more often. Hmm. Um, but refuse to enroll younger widows, for when their passions draw them away from Christ, they will want to marry, and thus will incur judgment because they are setting aside their first faith. At the same time, they will also learn to be idle, going from house to house and being not only idle, but also gossips and busybodies, discussing things that they should not mention. 14. So I advise you, the younger widows to marry, have children, and manage their households, denying the adversary occasion for slander. 15. For they have already turned aside to follow Satan. For some have already turned aside to follow Satan. 16. If any believing woman has dependent widows, she must assist them and not allow the church to be burdened, so that it can help the widows who are truly in need. So it's like dependent, believing women. Oh, you have some dependent women, the dependent widows. Oh, you take care of them, because the church has other things to take care of, like real widows who are truly in need. Paul's hilarious, and it's also saying what younger widows should marry because they will be gossipers and busybodies. Look what we got. Look what we got. Gossipers and busybodies, and the passions will draw them away. People are like, oh, okay, just avoid sexual morality. What I did to avoid sexual morality was, even though I'm young and vibrant and vivacious and horny all the time, I just avoided it. I just avoided it for 7 years. That's what somebody told me in the comments. That's not a solution. That's a humble brag. That's not a solution at all. In fact, that I would recommend you go get married, sir. If you do have sexual urges, that's why you're saying this, right? God wants you to be married, not denying yourself over and over and over again. In First Corinthians 7, Paul says, because of the present crisis, in verse 26, because of the present crisis, he encourages the men not to marry. That's because of the present crisis in Corinth in like the first or second century. So what the heck are you telling me that you shouldn't get married? You will be drawn away from your passions, men and or women, and you will want to be married. And you can have sex immorally, which is easy and available everywhere, especially in today's modern society. At least back then, if you got caught, you're going to get married and people know, blah, blah, blah. Today, you can just go have sex. No one will admonish you. No one will say nothing about it. No, and there has been studies, the correlative relationship between guilt and better choices. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I put it in another video discussing how women will, in a blind study, women were asked if they had sex with a partner, right? And they had said they had sex with a dude that wasn't worth it, and they weren't up to scruff, and they regretted it. Okay. Oh yeah, it was regret, not guilt. And they asked a whole bunch of people, and then they made a hypothesis. They made a hypothesis that because they regretted it, and the men were not up to standard, that one, that they'll pick men of better standard, and two, pick less, be more like practice, be more scrupulous, scrutinize their possible partners. In reality, what happened was that the women ended up having more sexual partners who were equal or less than of ranking than the previous men in the uh, aforementioned beginning of study. So, to summarize, women who already made bad decisions, picking men that they regretted having sex with, instead of making better decisions and having less partners and trying to be more scrupulous, they instead doubled down on picking bad partners and had more partners, in fact, and had sex with them with less scrutiny. So that's not some type of uh, strike against women. It's a strike against modern women in the modern society, and how we can't really be submitting to the emotions and logic of women. Like, there needs to be men vetting these women in your life. There has to be a way to live your life and to hold yourself and to conduct yourself. There has to be, which is contained in the Torah, that is the law in the Bible. But we don't have those things. We don't have people trying to conduct themselves in that way. What we have are people that are literally rejecting the Old Testament, so called, and the law, because it is Jewish, or that's the old covenant, even though the new covenant in Jeremiah 31:33 says, I will write my law, that is Torah, on their hearts and in their minds. Why is that? Why is that? That the new covenant is about the law, but somehow majority of Christians have made it not about the law. There have already been plots and schemes for over 1,000 years against the church. Okay, over 2,000 years, because the church began in Sinai, according to Stephen in Acts 7. So, of course, there's going to be effeminizing and topsy turvy and inversion and subversion. There is just this level of effeminate, feminizing today of the doctrine and the church that has gone beyond anything that has been prior to it, except maybe when, no, prior to it, because even when women were like priestesses in the temple, they were just prostitutes. There's never like goddesses was never a wide, society wide practice of any classical society that was successful in any way. What we have is modern women with modern standards who want everything and don't give anything to a man. And yet they are the prize. Maybe women should start thinking the men are a prize if they don't want to be one of the half of all women that's single and 30, or a single mother. Any thoughts? Did we not touch on anything here that we discussed early in the video? And is there anything that on what I just said?
Um, I believe we have touched on everything so far, referring to women in the
Look at the camera.
dating
Make sure
scene.
that you're getting lit up right. So you gotta use the light right here. Use this.
As far as women in the dating scene, yeah, and um, I believe that enough women are not seeking the right women to follow to like help them with this kind of advice, or even men, because it does say in the Bible that the older women should be teaching the younger women how to be uh, wives and how to be mothers. But a lot of
Yeah.
these older women are acting just, like the younger women,
Wow. Yep.
and it's kind of hard for some of these women to find the right women to follow to get the right advice to um, to seek marriage.
Yeah, because a lot of this was started by our generations of our mothers and grandmothers,
Mm-hmm.
and even before that, really. So
Right.
some of our great grandmothers.
Right. And a lot of and it's really sad because a lot of these women, you know, they want to. They're on their platforms, you know, saying how, you know, a man should be seeking them because they're the missing rib, or, you know, that's what they dream of is, you
Wow.
know, being married.
I have not heard that one. Wow, that is
Um
absolutely ridiculous.
and you know, and they're like, he should be searching for me, you know, like you said earlier. Women are just being told, oh, just wait, you know, just wait, take your time, just, you
Take your
know.
time, do it right. You can do it, baby. Do it tonight. Okay, go ahead.
That it's okay to wait, you know, you have your time, you know, you have your youth, you know, just wait, your husband will come around, and God will just, you know, like you were saying earlier, that God would just plop your husband that you want at your front door, or, you know, wherever you're praying for, as if, you know, God's this genie, like, you know, if I wish upon a star, you
Ooh.
know, like in Disney, you know, everyone, these women are taught to think, act like they're a Disney princess, or this world that they're in reality is like Disney, or to treat it and shape it like Disney. And it's very unbiblical, because nothing in Disney is biblical. You know, I mean, maybe some things here and there might be maybe a little speck of it, but deep down,
It's
it's not.
it sounds true, but every lie has some truth in it, doesn't it?
Mm. And I believe that's what it is. I believe that it. I think that's what it is. Like, you know, it seems like a lot of women are not willing to listen to the masculine headships in their household, like their fathers.
That's literally what
Um,
every princess in every Disney movie does.
right.
They rebel against their fathers. Ariel, Pocahontas,
Mm.
um, Belle,
Mm.
Moana. Did I say Ariel? Yeah, I said Ariel.
Yeah.
Every princess, that's what they're doing. They're
Mulan.
Mulan. Yeah, they're rebelling against their father. And then Mulan, you know, they have they have their reasons. You know, I mean, Mulan has some good kind of reasons. I mean, it's kind of unrealistic that she went to war and did all right, but yeah, sure, sure, she had her reasons. I get it. Damn, though, do you see that there's a pattern of children rebelling against their? It's like you'll see that it's step by step. It's rejecting all the biblical principles and commandments.
Mm. And it's it's very sad because they don't want to listen to, like he was saying, they don't want to listen to the masculine headships in their households, not even in their church, you know, because, you know, it seems like the church is very, any masculine headships in the church are very soft, and they want to be nice and tell them
No,
nice things.
that
And
any male headship would is effeminate is what you're saying, because the masculine men, any
mm,
masculine men are
right.
shamed out of their position. They are constantly forced and browbeaten to soften their position, just like the church, and inevitably they will, because they want quote unquote peace.
Mm,
But peace is not compromise on the truth, unfortunately. And so any male, or rather masculine, let's be specific, there are males, but any masculine males that are in the church are probably married to a woman um, of good value, because they recognize that he was a good leader and he's attractive.
mm,
Case in point. But yeah, the rest of it seems to be very effeminate, and like you're saying, like any most of the leadership in the more mainstream, the more effeminate. You know what I mean? And most
mm,
of the mainstream Christian churches are
yeah.
teaching feminine doctrine.
Yeah, and it's very sad. A lot of women are moving around in this world, like, you know, like he was saying earlier, like he, you know, we're getting comments, or, you know, inboxes of like, okay, well, how do I go about searching for a husband? You know, a lot of these women don't.
And speaking about, sorry guys, just to cut in one more time. Um, if you want to inbox us and talk to us on social media, it's On IG, Arthur Fantastic 1K instead of IC. Holler. The link is in the description.
Mhm.
And her social media is Caramel the Sauce. So if women that are looking for specifically female advice,
Mhm.
you can go to Caramel the Sauce on Instagram, and we are available for DMs. Um, light advice we are able to give if you're looking for more like matchmaking, if you want us to get like a matchmake help you meet your husband, or you want to have more of a long personal session, we also you can also book a session on my page, and you can ask for Caramel the Sauce
Mhm.
on my Instagram page. Book a session, book a session. I'm Kevin Samuels, book a session. Where's my slap button? Slap.
um,
I'll make you famous.
uh, but that's what I was like mainly trying to get at. It's just like a lot of these women are, some of these women, like you said, come in good faith and they actually genuinely want a husband. They actually genuinely want to understand what they're doing wrong, and they want to be wives. They want to be biblical wives, and they want to be mothers, but they just don't know how to go about it. They don't have the right women in their circle that are telling them
It's all
what to do.
theoreticals. There's no actual follow through or
Mhm.
knowledge of really how to be that way.
Right. And most of the women, I mean, most of the women that women have like in their friends groups are either single or man hating, and so it's like they, a lot of these women just don't have positive female advice for them to help them, on their journey to searching for marriage. And it's very sad. It's very sad that not even
Why is the
why
light not reaching out anymore? It's dying. Sorry, go, 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 go.
it's not it's very sad
Damn,
because
dude, this ate the
um
fucking batteries.
it's a lot of women are just going to be, like you said, are just going to be part of the statistic and be end up single and childless.
Is that kind of helping? Oh, it's kind of now there. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and people aren't paying attention. But I think now, oh, now I gotta move the light. All right, okay. I think a lot of people are waking up now because they're either engaging with red pill material, that is Christians are. Let me start again. I think that it's coming out more now in the Christian community in terms of what men are facing and what women have to be and what they're actually doing to men and what men are actually suffering through, because some creators have been beating the drum for a very long time, um, uh, in the discussing how it is lopsided for men, it is lopsided for men in family court. Women are not biblical women anymore. Women have ridiculous expectations. Women have um, completely diminished their value, but still like demand the same value as if they were a young single woman with no children, and instead they just see themselves as like, oh no, I'm still as hot as ever, even though I have a child now and I have all these bills and I have really bad habits, and I'm actually a really like hard person to get along with, and in fact in public I'm kind of awkward. Like, I don't know how much more obvious and clear it can be with all of the men saying what they're saying, the ones that are like of like who are like not bullshitting you. There's a lot of men that bullshit. You can tell how they bullshitters if you are good at bullshitting. If you're not good at bullshitting, then how do you tell the bullshitters from the non-bullshit? They're nice. That's how you can tell bullshit, because truth isn't always making you feel good. It's about honor, duty, and what God actually wants, not what's nice. Sometimes things don't it doesn't seem like that's nice, okay? And it won't always be nice. It's about it being true and right and his way.
Kindness.
kindness. Kindness is love. Being nice is being like, oh, you look absolutely amazing. Kindness, did I say niceness or I say kindness there?
You said niceness.
Yeah, niceness is you look absolutely amazing. Kindness is saying, well, you actually are really, really overweight, and I'm concerned about how out of shape you are. You know what I mean? Niceness is saying, we're all going to heaven. Kindness is saying is, not everyone will enter the kingdom of my Father. That's true. Get away from me, you doers of iniquity. I'm warning you. That's kindness. Niceness is saying we all goats to be free. We goats to be free, Taylor. Is that what that's going to be? We all are, just every single person, whether it's Hitler and uh my God, I'm just trying to like Jack the Ripper and Mangala. We're all just going to be free if we just say and believe it. That's not how that works. But because it's become this Greekified, all in your mind bullshit and no action behind what is right, what is wrong, reading the Bible, believing it, and doing what is righteous and true and in his way, then it becomes this. The majority of women will be single in the year 2030, either a single mother or 30 single and childless. Okay? The overwhelming majority, like 80, 90%. What the fuck is anyone going to do about this? Christians are fucking running into this. They're either, some Christians are really like, oh, you know what? They're right. I hear truth. Some are like, I don't like how they say it, the niceness issue. And then others are just completely rejecting it because they feel some type of way about it. The question is it true, as I asked? People are fighting against because I don't like how that sounds, and it wrecks my idea of me being a spoiled princess, solo wife for the rest of my life. Just me and Mrs. Jones. But that's not what's happening. Going to happen. That's not what's happening. Period. How do we get to a place where women are getting married and staying in stable relationships, following the Bible, changing the way that we look at men, becoming fit, friendly, submissive, doing the things that it takes to be a Proverbs 31 wife, to what it takes to be a biblical woman, what it takes to be in a woman that's attractive and takes a serious and legitimate interest in the men that she is courting. Last piece of advice that I want to end on. Okay, the reason why I put there's actually two more things I want to touch on it because I talked about polygamy earlier, and I put dating in quotation marks. So that's the two things I want to talk about. First off, I'll talk about dating in quotation marks. So that's the final piece of advice. The reason I put it in quotation marks is because dating doesn't work. And in fact, it is a modern convention that would have only started happening post 1950, 1945. Before that, there was not dating. You would go on a courtship. There would be if you were going somewhere, there would be a chaperone. All right, this would be in you go to the soda shop and get a soda. You walk in the park. Surely there were some people that would still break the rules, but it was the overwhelming majority that followed the rules because they had an implicit culture and belief that there was a right way to do things. Some people, they fall to and it's just the minority. You know what I mean? Not above 50%. Now it's half are fucking single. Almost the entire other half is fucking single mothers. Neither one of those women are single in a place to be a Christian woman. Okay, a Christian wife. So that being said, what they would happen before is there would be a courtship of a couple of months, max a year. There would be a marriage, because how long can you stave off and that passion and burn within? It says it's better to marry than burn with passion in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 7. How long can you wait and burn with that passion? You're like, obviously that's why you're getting married. You're not supposed to be dating for 2 or 3 years, test riding it, living with them. In fact, it is an overwhelming factor in marriages not surviving more than 5 years and going into a divorce overall. Generally speaking, if the person lived with their spouse before they got married, the hypothesis that has been postulated by some of the people studying this is that people who are living with somebody and get married with them think that there's going to be a change in the way that they live and act and stuff. That's not true. Women are like, oh, I'll be a wife for the right man. No, you won't. You're either a wife or you're not. You'd either try and know how and doing that actively before you're a wife, or you're not a wife. And unfortunately, most women are not that. That's why we need to put dating in quotations. There should be no dating. It should be courting. You should find one man, put your attention on him. If that's the man you are willing to submit to, that's the man you submit to. And it doesn't matter about any, that's the end of the game. Now you're playing a new game. You're not playing hypergamy, looking at other men, seeing that there's other options, other people have it this way, or their men treat them like this, or this, that, the other thing. You're with that man, and now you have to honor that choice day after day for the rest of your life. And sometimes it'll be happy, sometimes it won't. But you have kids, and if he treats you right, not if he treats you right, he will treat you right if you pick the right man. And if he doesn't, quote unquote, treat you right by whatever subjective standard, you picked him. You need to help be with him, even if he's an unbeliever by whatever measure. Like, oh, he's doing something bad to you. You're supposed to stay with your husband, because your actions may lead to his conversion. Okay, once again, this is First Peter. This is 1 Corinthians 7, or is that Second Peter? Regardless, it's Peter and Paul, and this is direct advice from the Bible. Why don't people know this or read it? I don't know. And why don't people know about society before 1945? Maybe there was a big shift in culture that really changed something. When did the sexual revolution start? When did divorce start skyrocketing? Why? What are the implicit things that stopped these things before, and why aren't they here around now to make that happen? I wonder. But do we wonder? No. Instead, many Christian content creators attacked Red Pill and Manosphere, so-called content creators, because it's unbiblical, or I don't like how it sounds. It's bullshit. You know what I mean? Even some things that Andrew Tate is right. Even some things that whatever these guys that you think is a villain, they say, is right. Last thing I want to end on, speaking of Andrew Tate, because I think he talks about it, polygamy. I think he might kind of talk about polyamory. Fresh and Fit kind of talk about too, about like dating 50 women. That's polyamory. I'm talking about polygamy, multiple women marriage. There would be less of a problem, considering the contracted pool, as we discussed earlier, of masculine men that are actually willing to be in a marriage and are capable of and wanting to stay in a long-term marriage. There's a very small pool, and most of them are already married in a monogamous marriage, right? That's a very small portion. It's like half of the church is men, half of the church is women. So 100% of men, 100% of women. Okay, what percentage of men do you think is that man? Like 50%, 50% are good, and let's say it's a dichotomy. So yeah, 50%. Let's say 50%, and then of the 50% of men that want to get married, like maybe only 30%, so 3/5 of those men are actually going to be stable, going to be in long-term relationships, or want to be and live by the standard, maybe even with some stumbles along the way. 30% of men, right? there's a large portion of women that want to get married, and the only thing they need to change is how they look at what they view men as and what they view themselves as in terms of what they need to do in a marriage. Very little change. I mean, it's just a wake up call. It's a shift of perspective. Men, they need to be a husband. They have to develop themselves. They have to be a certain way. They have to live by the code. They have to. Women need to shift. They already, most of them believe what the Bible is. They're already going to church. They just need to shift their vision of men. But will that happen? Probably not. That's why we're talking and discussing this, because whether it be Fresh and Fit, Just Pearly Things, Kevin Samuels, whatever podcast, Valuetainment, what SOS Cast, anybody that's discussing Angry Man channel, all those channels that are discussing this dynamic of men and women and marriage, they've been saying it for a long time. And polygamy, as I was touching on a second ago, is this solution that can be a partial solution to the problem of so many single women. A lot of those women want to get married, but the proportion of men that are, you know, straight, religious, willing to be in a marriage and stay in a marriage, there's not a lot of that. There are men that will be in a long-term relationship and fuck you for a long time and maybe get some stuff on the side, but are there a lot of men that want to be husbands? I would argue not up to the standard that women want. So the standard that women want either has to be lowered, their expectation has to be lowered, or they're going to have to be willing to share their man, okay, which is biblically allowed in Exodus 21:10. If he takes another wife, cannot diminish the clothing, raiment, or sexual rights of the first wife, meaning the first wife is still alive and he's having sex with her, clothing her, and feeding her, in addition to the first wife. And in fact, just as an argument for people who haven't watched this channel before and maybe just hearing this point for the first time, in Ezekiel 23, all of Ezekiel 23, Jeremiah 3, 8, verse 8 to 10, and Jeremiah 31, verse 31 to verse 33, God identifies as a bigamist. That is, he's married to both Israel and Judah. He has two wives. He also participates in polygamy by giving David in 2 Samuel 12, 8. He gives, right? Is that correct? 2 Samuel 12, 8. He gives David multiple wives. And if he wanted more, all he had to do was ask. And if you read that entire chapter, you will see that the problem of David is not polygamy, but that he killed Uriah by sending him to the front and had sex with his wife while he was alive and tried to fool him. Come on. Come on. So, God participated, identifies, and allowed polygamy. And a lot of people argue, oh, that's all right. Well, I just proved that he did those things, and that, so how could it be wrong? Is God contradictory? No. So you must have learned something wrong. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that everything that you learned was wrong, just that one thing. And then you can question those other things at another time. That all being said, that was the last point. I think it was one of the last things that I said I wanted to talk about, right? I think we pretty much went through the advice. Is there any other specific advice that you can think of that we didn't go through? I think we did a good job. I'm sweating. It's hot in here. We got to put on that air conditioner and we take it off because of the sound. Last thoughts? Any last thoughts and words, baby?
Any last thoughts or words? Yes, any women that are out there that are needing advice, definitely hit me up. Or if you like, you can always hit up my husband. Males as well. Hit up my husband if you need any advice. We are always available through DMs.
Okay, through DMs. Thank you so much. Once again, at Caramel the Sauce on Instagram, Arthur Fantastic 1K instead of IC Holler on IG. Links in the description below. Also check out my other channel. Also check the videos on this channel. This is all a review of what we're talking about this week and usually the following week, the subjects of the content that I'm posting at the time. I just posted young Christian women are not getting married and single Christian women are the biggest threat to the church. And if this will go more into the subject, as well as take a look at other sources for this subject to get a better understanding of. Don't take my word for it. Test it. Test if it's true. If it's true, that's the most important. Test it if it's true. If it's true, then you can't deny it. That all being said, thank you for attending the first day biblical discussion episode 4. We appreciate your support. We appreciate everybody subscribing. There's always that prima fide link in the description if you want to be a member and help us start a physical community, help us get going. The more that we can get off our normal day-to-day BS so that we can focus on doing this, the better. And um, just thank you for the support. Give likes, watch our videos, watch our other channel. Just let us know what's going on. Comment below and subscribe. Um, Once again, as always, stay up, stay locked and loaded, stay vigilant. Um, Shalom, shalom, peace in. Love talking to y'all.